commitment ceremony. The time keeps getting bumped further and further.
See, this is why we need Ralph. Welcome in, right? We got, things happening. We don't really know what's going on. I'm trying to manage 15 things back here. Welcome in, LSU fans. My name is Bryce Koon, alongside Matthew Brune and Shea Dixon as we get ready to talk.
To the music in the background. Y'all couldn't see me.
You were vibing. Not quite as much as I was vibing inside the press box last night. I made you uncomfortable, I think.
Yes. Don't want to relive that.
Well, we're going to relive the game, right?
Yes.
LSU knocks off Florida on Saturday night, 20-10. Lots of thoughts, lots of comments made in the post game that we'll obviously get to. But it was an interesting night, a fun night inside Tiger Stadium, and we're going to break it all down for you here. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and if you're just finding this show or finding this podcast and afterwards, we want to direct you over to the Bengal Tiger, where you can get a fantastic deal, $1 for your first week. You can get that athletic subscription as well, tied into that for 1 year. So it's a fantastic deal. Make sure you take advantage of it and come hang out with us on the message boards, which have been popping all day here on Sunday with recruiting, analysis of this game, looking ahead to what happens. But fellas, we'll lock it in and talk about this LSU Florida game. Shea, we'll start with you. Before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the game, we were just kind of, talking a little bit about this beforehand. You've seen a lot of LSU football games. Where did that one rank for you in terms of just kind of the atmosphere? We had the gold out. Probably wasn't 10 out of 10 Tiger Stadium, Death Valley, but this it felt like a pretty good atmosphere for a Saturday night.
Yeah, it's like wrestling, right? You want to hear the pops whenever this stone cold glass shatters or whatever. They got a pop on that the play that essentially sealed the game, but Deshaun Spears' pick that he returned for a touchdown to make it 20-10, I thought was the loudest moment of the night. But look, hey, everyone showed up, start to finish, in their gold/yellow combo mix there of whatever they had. We got a flyover. Well, we had fights to start it, a flyover. The refs were throwing flags before the game and like 1 minute into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love games that start during the day but end in the pitch black of night.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're kind of getting used to it, but I love that we're on the back end of the arms race dad LED stuff. They didn't just have the wristbands, but I love the lights when they just go pitch black after the touchdowns. It's probably not great for any photographers and video people on the field who've been sitting there, probably don't love it because they're trying to get photos of that. And then it's just pitch black in there with, strobe lights, but a great environment in Tiger Stadium. And y'all weren't the only ones. Scarborough, a lot of people in the press box were dancing last night, even on video. So glad y'all didn't trend. Neither of y'all went viral.
Oh, Scarborough, that video, that was a pure cinematic gold. Brune, what'd you think? I mean, we were talking beforehand. I had some buddies that were at the game. They loved it. They enjoyed it.
You don't have any friends. Come on.
I don't.
These are acquaintances.
That's just. See, you guys told me he's not going to get to talk. I try to say something.
Yeah, you're talking acquaintances. Move on.
Move on. Anyways, Brune, I don't have friends, but if I did have friends that were there, what did you make of the atmosphere?
It was really good. The hype built with the pregame fight. Let's call it a fight. Let's just call it a fight. Why not?
Yeah.
We were trying to come up in the press box with what to call it for like the story purposes. Dust up, kerfuffle,
skirmish,
brouhaha, everything. So that kind of egged on the booze early on. So that made it more fun. And then it was just, Tiger Stadium at night. I've said for the last few years, it's just, I can't imagine this team losing at night because the stadium, the crowd just carries them at times. And it just is so infectious, and it's amazing. So credit to LSU fans again.
It was a good one. It was a good crowd. They had some big moments to get excited about. I think they also had some opportunities to exercise some frustrations on the referees. Let's lead it off. Targeting or no targeting, by the way. Like, Shea, what do you think on that call? Whit Weeks was, by the way, beside himself on the sideline after that call was made. What did you think? What did you make of it?
Well, I can make that very short. By the definition of the rule, it's targeting. Would you ever look at that and create a rule out of it? No, not that
Very
play.
fair.
So I think that at some point you've got to revisit this. This happens once, probably 20 times a week. We don't see everything, but
Yeah.
it happens in a marquee game with your captain on defense,
Mm-hmm.
who's going in to just make a tackle. He didn't lick on a defenseless player. He didn't blindside a quarterback who, is protected more than others for a reason. He went to make a tackle, puts his head in there, and you can't predict how a ball carrier who's being engaged at the same time is going to fall down. And then all of a sudden you've hit him, and well, it was the crown of your helmet. And I know I said I'd make it short, but yeah, it is targeting, but that can't kick you. Like, there has to be some, and I like people who kind of said, in situations, I mean, we've got officials replaying everything. There has to be something where it's like a warning before it's an ejection, because that doesn't warrant an ejection, because it wasn't malicious, and
It wasn't even
didn't
violent to
intend
me.
on
Like you
doing
watch it full speed, and it was not even one of those like, oh wow, he got popped.
Well, the
like it
refs
looked
didn't
normal.
call it.
It
right?
looks
I mean,
normal, and then
they
Whit
went all the way
Weeks,
to the next play.
they
The refs
go
didn't
and
even call it.
they go and review it, and they slow it down to where it looks obviously, like Shea said, like it by the letter of the law. Yes, it is. But like in the moment, you watch it real time. Like I watched it back like 10 times, and I'm like, this doesn't even look like vicious or anything. It looks nothing like it is endangering anybody seriously.
Florida guy popped right up. I mean, and again, it didn't get called on the field. They were going to set up for the next play, and Billy Napier screams at the ref. So clearly the UF people in the box had seen, hey, look, there's some helmet there. Like, hurry up, like get this one reviewed. And they did. And hey, he went, but I will say the most impressive thing to me was the Weeks brothers. They all play with clear. I mean, Zach Weeks, who I joke and say, like, everyone that was like in this skirmish just up before the game, they're like in t-shirt jerseys that are in the hundreds. So like, they're not going to play. Like, they're not even on the squad. Like, Zach Weeks was trying to fight people, and you're like, he's never going to play. Well, guess what? He played in the fourth quarter when it was tight, because both older Weeks brothers, an ejection and a calf strain, which I have confirmed. So that's not going to keep West Weeks out any real amount of time. But BK, whatever he said to him, my man put on the headset basically and was coaching all game. And yes, Blake Baker has these guys in the linebacker room ready, all that. I'd have to think Weeks also played a little role in Devon Keys, his little brother, Zach, and then Ty Singleton, who Brian Kelly quiz show. How many snaps has Ty Singleton played this year? 3. I already know the answer, and he had to play the whole rest of the way in the fourth quarter of a tight game. But to see Weeks, that's what a captain is, right? Like, immediately to, I'm coaching here. I'm surprised he wasn't the one that got ran over on the sidelines by Weston Davis and not Brian Kelly. My man was working the sidelines heavily, but look, they get him back for Southeastern, all good. And you won the game without Whit Weeks, and went the whole way. I mean, he got hurt on the third play of the game.
Yeah. It's
not hurt, got ejected.
I think just in turn, going back to it, Shea, I 110% agree. And I was telling Brune this, like, I think whether you have a flagrant system, some type of red card, yellow card system like they do in soccer, like, we have to have something that separates just your basic helmet to helmet from malicious intent. Like, there has to be something. There has to be some type of black and white conversation in terms of, we can't just have this gray area where you're getting ejected for that, and then some guy gets hit, and you like you said, Brune, like, in real time, you see his head snap back and it's ugly, and everyone's like, ooh, you hear that collective groan from the crowd. Those can't be enforced the same way. Like, we've got to have something, in my opinion, where the writing, the wording of the rule needs to be changed, or we need to have some type of parameters around it. That's what I would say. So we're not spending a ton of time on this penalty, but just wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Before we kind of dive into the frustration that Brian Kelly showed, and you guys hinted at it there, I wanted to talk because, we didn't get an instant reaction pod, and it's a shame that our man Colin couldn't clean up the audio, and that's a hand up
that's who we're
situation
blaming.
by me.
We're gonna blame
No,
Colin here?
that's a hand up situation by me.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool blaming Colin.
Colin couldn't clean it up because Shea, Brune, and I were emphatic on this post game podcast in terms of that. So this is where I'll lead it off. And if you're watching these shows, this is our 4th live Sunday show. You remember the dust up between Shea and Brune last Sunday night. So we'll try to keep that PG here tonight. But in all seriousness, I think it's not just the frustration that Brian Kelly had and the frustration the fans have had on the message board in general with this, but just overarching theme here, guys, is that this defense is really, really good. They're making teams who aren't awful, like Clemson and Florida's offense aren't terrible. They may not be as good as we thought they were going to be, but they're not just bottom of the rung power 4 offenses. They're making them look like that, though. And I think it's more of an indictment of how good LSU's defense is and will continue to be, rather than they're not playing anybody. Brune, you said this last night. The sample size is now 3. We're a quarter of the way through the football season now. You can start to say at least, hey, this defense is very, very good. Are they the best in the country? Well, you got to see throughout the course of a season. But I wanted to throw it to you here first because based off what we talked about last night, this defense is nasty. They dominate, and it allows you to get away with some things offensively because they're just that good.
Yeah, I want to spend a good portion of this talking about the defense. I just am so impressed at all 3 levels. Their ability to overcome weeks not playing in this game. Their ability to remain poised. When Lagway makes a couple really nice throws, doesn't matter. They come back. They continue to pressure him. They continue to make it really tight windows for him. I thought Brian Kelly broke it down really well, where they were able to have their safeties really involved, and because they're so good man-to-man wise, their safeties are able to really be aggressive at times, and that's where you see the interceptions come into play, and that's where they don't have the one-on-one opportunities that a lot of teams have. So, they're just really, really fun to watch, and I want to make sure people on the board are like, damn, that game was like ugly to watch. Not to me. Like we've seen ugly games before in college football. We've seen a lot of ugly games in college football.
Yeah.
Like that to me was 2 very good quarterbacks, very talented quarterbacks that DJ Lagway was completely thrown off from the jump because he had Harold Perkins in his lap. He had Patrick Payton in his lap. He had all these dudes covered on the perimeter and no space to throw the ball. Like I was just floored at how good this defense was. And so a lot of fun, really, really impressive. Another A to A plus effort from the defense. The 1 touchdown Florida did have, tip of the cap, DJ Lagway. Great throw there. Yeah. But phenomenal defense performance. And this is like they keep climbing. 3 straight A-level performances from me here. Like they're top 5 defense in the country now.
Shea, what you got for us? What you think? What'd you take away?
I mean, 100. I agree with everything Matthew said on defense. I don't see them. What they tackle so well. They have much better players than they did at any other point during the Kelly era. They've meshed together so quickly when you combine transfers with returning starters with first-time starters, and then you get guys rotating in like Deshaun Spears who have these big games like this, picking off a couple of passes, getting a touchdown. So I don't see. Like, could they have a bad game? Sure. It's not ever going to string itself out into a lot of just like, oh boy, they were good to start the year, but they're not good anymore. That's not going to happen. I mean, they are a legit one of the best defenses in the country. And to think that before Blake Baker arrived, they were 130th, right? Or whatever. Right. And there's like 137 teams and they cut that in half and they were in the 60s. And we said, can you cut it in half again? Well, Blake Baker and what they did in the portal, like they've gone, as Matty B said, it's incredible to watch them. It's like a lot of fun to watch them. Yeah. Unfortunately, you do get to watch them a lot across the first 3 weeks.
Florida had
I can kick this back.
Florida had like 85 plays in the game somewhere. It was a ridiculous number. Yeah. So people are throwing out like, oh, they gave up 330 yards. Yeah, on 85 plays. It was ridiculous. It was a tremendous effort.
76 to 52 was the play count, for if you're wondering. But I mean, I can kick this back to you because I mean, I think my thoughts of just bringing it up are what it is, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And Bryce, you've got one of the helmets behind you, and y'all were in the stadium for Clemson. I think that they played two really good defenses too. And I'm not excusing the offense. Like, I think the offense has a lot to work on. They don't look like they have a real rhythm half the time, more than half the time. But like, you can sit here and say Florida's not a great team or a good team right now. That's fine. You can say that Clemson is not living up to expectations. That's fine. I think that both of them not only have talent on defense, but that they play very good defense. So I think those two defenses are two of the better defenses they'll play this year. I don't think that this is indicative of what's going to happen every single week. And I don't care about Luedecke because I don't think they took it seriously. Now, Southeastern and a very bad Ole Miss defense, very, very bad, will tell me if this offense has true panic button. They are not good. They will not figure it out. Potential ahead of them. Or if, hey, they are kind of finding an identity. I think their identity right now, guys, seems to just be like, we want to be kind of close to a 50-50 split on run pass, which they haven't been in recent years. We can get into every nuance of if they're forcing that, what's going wrong. Is you point blame to anyone. Is it the coaching, the play calling, the execution? I think these next 2 weeks, and certainly Ole Miss, will tell us a lot more than Clemson and Florida, who I think are way better defenses than Ole Miss are by light years.
I'll go first, Brune. I think in watching Clemson for 3 weeks now, and I've watched each of their games, the game against Troy last week and the game obviously against Georgia Tech yesterday, teams have to really work to move the ball down the field on them. And I said this, like, Tom Allen, good defensive coordinator, like, understands what he's going to be doing in scheme-wise, and I think that defense has potential to even get better. They have still, regardless, like, go look at the draft boards, 2, maybe 3 day 1 picks. If not, they've got 4 day 1 and day 2 picks combined. I mean, they got 4 or 5 guys that are going to be taken in the first 3 rounds in that defense. So I do agree with the sentiment that those are 2 of the better, if not the best defenses that you're going to see this year. In Florida, like Brune and I talked about this last night, I didn't think they played bad defensively. Like, for everything that people, and we're going to get into this, right? We're going to have a fun debate on this. For everything that people want to complain about LSU's offense, like, look, sometimes you got to remember there's 11 guys on the other side of the football that are trying to actively stop you. It's not you're playing in shorts with flags on. Like, Florida's got some dudes on defense that made life difficult. Some athletes.
They have 5 stars all over the place.
It's not like you were. I'm with you, Shea. They didn't care against Louisiana Tech, and I do love what you said. If we're seeing the same thing heading into the bye week, in 3 weeks now, because you got 2 more games, and then that 3rd week's the bye week. If you're seeing the same thing, it's like, okay, the caliber of defense is about to really fall off. Florida's got some dudes on defense, and like some dudes, like you're going to see a couple of those guys get picked like in day 2 in the draft in a couple of years. And you're like, wait, I thought that team wasn't good. Yeah, but their individual talent potential is ridiculous. And so that's why they're going to get picked. I'm with you on that sentiment. I do think I'm cool with saying that. Like, having watched Clemson 3 weeks, Florida, the problem is Florida did get gashed with the run, but that was a lot of Byron Brown with South Florida, which LSU doesn't have that at quarterback.
Well, and they didn't have Caleb Banks in that game either.
They did, and the guy who's
big part of, a big part of what I think LSU's approach was this year, because Matty B pointed out last week on the pod, thinking about Florida, like, yeah, DJ Lagway was on one leg and won it for him, but homeboy was living in the backfield all night and had like 38 tackles for loss in that game. They weren't going to let that happen again. Before Brune goes off on this, I do want to preface what I'm saying by, I'm not saying that the offense looks great or would have looked great or any of that. I'm just saying right now what we're judging them on might be 2 of the best defenses they've played. So there is some silver lining. I think I'll get into it more later, but I think some silver lining in the reality that right now we're judging how poor they've been against 2 defenses that will rank in the top 4 defenses that they play this season.
Do we want to transition to the offense here? Do we want to make a full transition to it?
Oh, can I say one more thing on the defense real quick?
Go ahead.
All fall camp, I raved about the safety play, and I know you talked a little bit about that, Shea. It is unbelievable how well Halsey and Cooley play at times. I know Cooley had a couple of missed tackles. Halsey is terrifying, I think, when he comes down into the alley, makes plays. Yeah. Deshaun Spears, elevates you to a spot where you have 3 potential bona fide starting safeties and only 2 spots to put them on the field. You know, in you go into dime package, you can put all 3 of them out there. You've got that. Brune, you said this last night. Delane, they're not really even throwing his way anymore. I mean, that's how quickly he's established himself as maybe the best corner in college football. I thought Pickett looked great. PJ Woodland might be one of the biggest stories that we just don't talk about enough. And we've talked about him a lot. I mean, just the way he has risen to the occasion, I think, in terms of what they needed. It's night and day difference. I love this defensive backfield. That's kind of my last 2 cents on this defense. They're very good. Oh, and by the way, Jacoby and Guillory is a scary human being. And we loved the play where he just, pumped up the crowd and sat there on the opposite end of the field. We loved that. The fact that he is, like I said this last week on the show, my wife's a physical therapist. I sat her down today and I berated her. And I was like, listen, coming off an Achilles tear, for this guy to be this effective, like, that's ridiculous to me. He's so confident. He's so comfortable. Whitweek's talked a little bit this week about how he attacked his rehab and he saw, like, what Guillory did. Man, hats off to that guy because he knew this was a big year for him developmentally and what he could help. And then obviously for the next level. So between the back end of the defense and Jacoby and Guillory, it's nasty. It's fun. Brune, I'm with you. I love watching it. Like, the offense can put up 20 points all year long. You know what? I'll watch this defense every single night.
Literally, I mean, I think it was the 3rd day we were able to watch fall camp, or maybe it was the 2nd day. And I said, this defense has swagger. This defense is playing with tons of energy. The transfers are coming in and like playing with their hair on fire constantly. You can go back and listen to it. And sure enough, here we are a month and a half later. And that is exactly the case. We've seen it time after time. And so we now have a sample size of 3 games of this defense being awesome. But also we have a whole month of watching them in fall camp be awesome. So this isn't like new. This isn't just because they're going against them. They've also done it against their own offense several times. And I think this is what it is now. They are going to be an elite defense. And now it's about figuring out the other side of the ball and, making things work over there.
Yeah. Anything else you want to book in on the defensive side of the football?
Move
over to the big conversation.
Go ahead, Shea.
I mean, they're elite. I don't think this is
the blitzes are so man, he's so good with those blitzes. The offense seemingly calls out like, oh, I think this guy's coming. And then even if he is coming or if he's not coming, they're just completely caught off guard. Blake Baker has to be one of the best defensive coordinators in the country at scheming up these blitzes because I'm waiting for them to get caught on one of them. And they just haven't been. Some screens will get them like for like 8-10 yards. Sure. Like Florida did a good job of that, but they're never getting like just blown by from these blitzes.
I thought one of the most telling things, you mentioned that, might be the screens in the first half. Florida came out well scripted to open the game, and they leaned on those screens, and it was catching LSU a handful of times. Like Lagway made the right throw. It went well. They blocked well. Blake Baker's ability to adjust at halftime is insane. Like, they didn't go back to the screen game after halftime because the first time they did, Harold Perkins just put his head right through somebody's chest. And from there, they kind of abandoned it. And then you've got Lagway throwing it all over the place, and that's what it's going to result in. They went on the road at Clemson, and they played Florida at home. And in the second half of both those games, both those teams combined for no points. Like, that's incredible adjustments at half for you to be able to recognize, hey, this is what they're doing and got us on. Here's what we're going to do moving forward. And neither of those teams were able to even score a point in the second half. So I have so much faith that this defense is exactly what they look like, and that the same, because we're probably not going to talk about it much, special teams, Ramos and Chadwick. Chadwick was amazing. There's a reason why he's a freshman, Middle Tennessee State, CUSA, all conference nominee. I think he was honorable mention maybe, but this is his freshman year. Coffin corner king. And look, it goes into why Brian Kelly said, there's a way we knew we could win this game. I can understand our deficiencies on offense is what he's saying. If we just buckle in on D and Chadwick's pinning it inside the 15 every time, we'll be all right. we'll find a way to win this game. And if we don't, we'll have to unleash the offense late and get more aggressive, but they didn't have to. So I just have so much faith in this defense. There's no doubt to me that they are exactly how they look. And the fact that they went that whole way without Witt.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Like, kept doing it. There was no fall off. And that's your captain. So, and a guy who's in charge of all the calls, like, let alone that. And he's very good at football. So you took all of that off the field on the first defensive series and you still were that good. Like, it's so impressive to me. And boy, I guess, Matty B, it's made more fun, as you said, given the reality that in the Kelly era, we've watched a lot of bad defensive football. And Blake Baker made Missouri one of the best defenses in the country, not just SEC.
Yeah.
Then he comes back here, cuts it in half last year. Now this year, boom, we see it. One of the best defenses in the country, and I think they're the real deal.
You got anything?
I'm ready. I'm ready to jump to the offense now. We spent 26 minutes talking how good this defense is.
Okay. The captain of the Nuss bus, give him his keys. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'm ready to defend Garrett Nuss.
I'm going to pose the question for you, okay? Because Shea's teed us up here. Shea used the comment of, could they unleash the offense late? My question to you is, or he said they would. Brune, can they? Is that the worry? Can they even do that? So he kind of talked about that last night.
Bryce, when we talked to it last night on the podcast that will never exist,
never see the light of day, by the way.
I was actually pretty optimistic overall. I think personally, like I think I was pretty optimistic because I believe in the receiving group and the tight ends and Garrett Nussmeier eventually figuring it out. So I want to start there. Like I actually think there is real upside of them figuring this out. The problem is they can't block, and that's just a reality I feel like that they can't really fix because we're now 3 games in and we're like, same with the defense. We're a month seeing them in fall camp and it's the same problems where they can't run the ball. And it's just hard for me to believe that in 5 weeks, we're talking about, oh man, remember when they couldn't run the ball? Now they're averaging like 5 yards a carry. I just really struggle to see that happening. And so I give them credit for trying to continue to establish the run. I give them credit for sticking with it because sometimes you can bust one of these, runs for 20 plus yards here from Caden Durham because he's that good. But damn, it is hard when you run the ball on first down and get stuffed at the line of scrimmage and you're immediately behind the chains or you're immediately in a second and third and long. Like your playbook is just cut in half. And so that's my concern is they were terrible run blocking, flat out terrible run blocking last night. And so it just put a lot of pressure on everybody else to obviously make plays. And while, I'll cut it short, I have more to say, but like, I just think it starts there. The offensive line has to be better. And I'm just not fully confident that they can reach like another level right now, especially in the run blocking. Pass pro, I think, has been kind of up and down. Run blocking is my biggest concern.
Shea?
I mean, I could dive into the nuances of it all, so I'll take it from a broader perspective. I think that if you were, and some people don't like to play this game, it's not a game, this is reality. If you were to say they're 3-0, they have a top 5 defense in the country, they don't have much of a run game, the new O-line is trying to gel together after a few games, and Nuss and this kind of returning and transfer portal group of receivers and tight ends are not fully on that same page yet, but you're 3-0 and you beat Clemson in Florida and you beat Florida by double digits. I think that everybody would have said awesome. And the reason they would say that is because we've seen Nussmeier and his receiving core, including Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, but now you add Brune and Nick Anderson to it, and Bauer Sharp, obviously, get Trey Green back healthy. Like, I've seen them be good before. I've seen Nuss throw for 4,000 yards. It happened a year ago. I'm with Matty B. Like, I don't think I'll look up at some point this season and they're averaging 5 yards a run. I do think that there is greater hope that you can look up this season and Nuss and the receiver, or Nuss is playing better than he has, and that the receivers are making plays and that they get vertical, or they're taking advantage of just slants and whatever to get Aaron Anderson and Brune and Nick Anderson and Xavion into space and see what they can do with yards after catch. Like, I've seen that happen. If you had the same players on defense as you did a year ago and you were 3 games in and 3-0, but they weren't good on defense at all, I would sit here and say I do not expect them to ever be good at defense because I've seen all these guys before and they're not good enough. That isn't the case on offense. I've seen all these guys. They are good enough. I've seen them even with last year's O-line that couldn't run the football and really just pass pro'd well, but couldn't get much of a push. I think you're in a better spot right now if the struggles do include that your passing game is not taken off yet, because that's something that they've already done before. Like, that's at least the silver lining here.
Real quick, Bryce, I'll let you talk. Sorry, but we have already seen it. The pass game start to figure out in the second half against Clemson. They were really good. Nuss was sharp there, and then in the second and third quarters against Florida, I said it last night. I believe he was 13 of 19 passing, and they had that drive where they threw the ball down the field. He went 6 of 7 on that drive, hit Xavion in the end zone. Like, there have been stretches, but it's been too inconsistent. And then obviously you have the interception, which is a whole another animal, which is abysmal, terrible throw, terrible decision, indefensible, horrible. But there have been stretches, to Shea's point. Sorry.
I hate it even more that there was a flag on that play. Unless he thought it was on the defense and it's like a free play, you knew it was holding. It was thrown right there.
The flag landed right in front of him. Weston Davis tackled a man in front of him.
Get rid of it.
The flag falls down in front of him. And I'm like, okay, well, just throw it away. Surely. This
play gets erased unless you throw it to the other team. And he threw it to Caden Durham your running back on a route, and he threw it behind him. That baffled me. You know what? And Bryce, then you can take it in any direction. I worry less about that pick than I do some of these throws, the Luedecke one to Barry Brown on the deep route, the first drive of the game, and then the one to Aaron Anderson, the one to Bauer Sharp. And look, I don't know if these guys run the wrong routes, but to me, it's almost, I didn't see Nuss badly miss throws like that last year. Like, I've seen him make turnovers before. I know that's in him. I know these, like, what are you doing plays. That was South Carolina game last year where they got bailed out because the refs called a roughing whatever when he got hit, or it would have been a pick 6. He's just missed some throws where it's like, dude, I saw you in the bowl game 7 months ago run backwards for 30 yards and fling it to Aaron Anderson on the sideline, 45 yards down the field. And it's like, what? That is another NFL throw.
2022 SEC championship game, throwing against Georgia.
Maddie pointed out, there were plays in the Luedecke game that were NFL throws there, and it's these window throws and all that. But I'm not seeing him throw it deep, which was his thing, and then he just misses some randomly. I don't know if he's injured, if something's lingering with him. He, to me, just doesn't look the same as he did a year ago. Mainly with, I know he'll throw it like an interception and everyone's like, what are you doing? That's the gunslinger mentality in him, that I can make every play. What I didn't ever see before, it's like, dude, he was open and you airmailed that by like 15 yards. I haven't seen that from Nuss. So I don't know if he's hurt or not or what, but it's just odd.
If he's not hurt, let's play that game, because let's say
if he is hurt, then it's explainable.
It's explainable. If he's not hurt, I wrote about this morning, and Brune, you and I talked about this on that fabled pod that will never see the light of day, the fake pod. If he's not hurt, then it, to me, becomes, is it in between the ears? And not that he doesn't understand. Look, we've all praised Nuss and what he can do in processing and stuff like that. And we've seen it, right? I mean, Brune, you mentioned the Clemson game. He finished 11 of 11 in that game, was dialed in, like probably the most dialed in we've seen him in a big-time game in his career. That was unreal. To me, though, at some point, those external factors get to any quarterback. The external factors of understanding, I don't have a lot of time, or the pressure is on constantly for us to not blink and things like that. Now, you can blink this a couple of times a game, it feels like now, offensively. But at some point, though, there's a little bit of a lack of decisiveness. I went back and watched the game today, and there's some, there's even some open receivers last night that he just didn't. I don't know, like, right? We're not inside the helmet. We can't see what he sees. It's much different for us in the stands, whether you're watching in the stands or on TV, to understand what you're seeing up front in front of you. He just didn't see some things. And I'm with you, Shea. I didn't see that last year. Like sometimes, most of the times I feel like, maybe wrong here, he would see stuff and he'd just say, for lack of a word, screw it. Let's throw it down. Let's see what we can do. He'd try to go make the play. He's not, to me, wasn't very aggressive in the way he played last night with the football. So is it in between the ears? Is it the mental clock being thrown off of, I mean, Brune, I'm with you. I mean, he's going to be in my stock down portion of my article tomorrow. Weston Davis, it's a problem. Like it's not good.
I think you try Carius Kern for at least a quarter in this game against Southeastern. Try anybody. Ori Williams, I don't care at this point. It was atrocious.
Well, let me say this real quick because I think that messes with the internal clock.
Hold on, wait, go Bryce.
I think that messes with the internal clock. Like we've had some data points to show for Nuss that like he's not going to come out and say it, but it's not great. Like even as bad as they were run blocking last year, you knew at the end of the day that Will Campbell was going to do his job and that Emory Jones was going to be really good. And you had some NFL type talent inside. You were going to have some time to do some things. I don't know if he feels comfortable with that right now. And that's just pure speculation from what I'm watching. There's no type of intel to tell you that. That to me is just where it's like, okay, that's the difference because there's a lack of aggressiveness. There's a lack of pushing the ball up the field. That if he's not hurt, maybe that's it because that's not the Garrett Nussmeier that we've seen. You know, I wasn't on the beat at the time, but I was in the building and then there that I saw in Atlanta, right? Against even in that situation, Jordan, just this playing free and fast that we hadn't seen that in it's spurts, but hadn't really seen it to its full extent.
Well, then Bryce and Kevin Smith just said it in the chat. Matty B talked about this last week that Weston Davis is sort of a turnstile there at this point when he's trying to get adjusted. Can a quarterback struggle through a few weeks of seeing it? But let's just say that it's still Weston Davis or whomever. You're not getting like, can you understand that and then say, okay, I shift my game and now I am in a spot where I understand the pressure. I understand where it comes from. I understand how much time I have. And now I'm back in a rhythm as opposed to it just, hamstrings.
Are you asking if Nussmeier can adjust?
Yeah. Do you think, because you're saying that if it is not an injury, maybe he's just, hey, look, these guys aren't blocking for me. Like, do you get to a point where you say, okay, I know exactly where the pressure might come every time because this is how these guys can block or not block, and I've now settled into a new rhythm.
He's also not quite athletic enough to, and that was again since before the season. It was like if the offense line's not as great, and then he's also not an athlete. And obviously, I'm a huge Nuss
You're the
advocate
driver
in terms of his talent. Yes, in terms of his arm talent. But obviously, he is not a fleet of foot athlete here. So with a question mark there, I do wonder how much he can adjust because he is not that athletic. So I'm interested to see. I don't want him pressing for throws. I think last year we heard about it time and time over the offseason. No more interceptions. Can't throw 12 picks. Can't do this. Can't do that. All right, I'm just going to take my easy stuff. I'm going to take my layups. Cool. And we'll figure it out from there. I mean, I don't know. It feels like it is kind of in his head a little bit to a degree, but then also I don't think the play calling has helped him at times either. It's just been all around kind of a mess. It'd be a lot easier if they could run the ball at any rate.
Yeah. But like Shea said, we're not going to look up. I mean, I'd be floored. I think you guys would be too, and see them averaging 5.5 yards a pop. Like that's not.
My hope is that Caden Durham
I
pops.
don't like.
My hope is Caden Durham pops one big run a game.
Okay, yeah.
I think Harlan Berry could be capable of the same with his speed. You leave a hole and he's going to get you 30, 40, 50 yards.
Want
but that's requiring an outlier run to push you to that mark.
Caden Durham on the first play of the game against Clemson. Spin off one knee, go get 25 yards. Or line up in the I formation with Jack Pyburn in the backfield, go get 50 yards. Like, they just got to pop one a game. That's
fair. That's fair.
Look, we can argue or talk all day about do they have an offensive identity, Bryce and Matt? Do they have do they think they do by just saying we're trying to be 50-50 here? I'll say this and I'll allow y'all to speak on it. This is what stands out to me because I went back and looked at a lot of the stuff we talked about a year ago. And when there were for a guy threw for 4,000 yards. All that. The complaints about the offense were the run game, and then the complaints were because of a lack of run game. You had put Nuss into 3rd and long a lot. That was like the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
They get into 3rd and 5 almost every drive right now, and then they don't have an answer. Like they're setting themselves up with this ability to
3rd and medium,
stay committed to running the football a bit. And you can argue, well, they shouldn't pass on first, or they shouldn't run, whatever. They get into 3rd and 5 a lot, and then it's like,
and that's the difference.
They can't figure it out.
That's the difference from last year. I don't have the exact stat in front of me. I believe Garrett Nussmeier was the best quarterback in 3rd and 7+ last year, 3rd and long situations last year. Because you look at how many 3rd downs they faced last year, it was a ton. Like they were same thing as this year. They weren't able to get ahead of the change, move it on 1st down. They faced a ton of 3rd downs, and Garrett Nussmeier was the best 3rd down quarterback, and that's where that arm talent, comes into play and stuff. This year they haven't been nearly as good on 3rd downs. Yeah. And so that's, going back to the question marks of what's the difference this year. I don't know. I can't pinpoint that exactly.
I'll say this to push the conversation even further, and I wrote about this today as well. I maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm being too nice here. I'm reserving my right to judge Chris Hilton and Nick Anderson's opportunities in this offense when you don't have a downfield passing game. Like
they haven't gotten opportunities yet, so you're waiting to see.
Well, it's not, the opportunities aren't as consistent for them to be there as it is for Barry and Brown and the other guys. And that works at times too. Like you can't keep running the same, screen pass every single time, because that's going to get snuffed out, and it already has gotten snuffed out a couple of times. I don't think that Nick Anderson, I'm not going to sit here and say, it was on the board, and I get that, it's a message board and everything. Nick Anderson's a bust, or why is Chris Hilton playing? All this kind of stuff.
Nick Anderson made some good plays last night.
Yeah, and he had the one catch, right? But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're a waste of being on the field when you don't have the ability to block and throw the football down the field. Now, if you get out there and they just can't get open, then we need actual data points. I wrote about it today. Nuss had 3 passes over 20 yards. Okay, he graded out as a 97.38 or something like that, nearly perfect on downfield passing yards. One of those passes was dropped. He obviously had the one to Xavier Thomas, the touchdown, and then the other one was Bauer Sharp up the middle, the seam route, which I love that play, by the way. Like that is that they need to go back to the well on that one. So you can do it. It's not a question of whether Garrett Nussmeier has the ability to throw the football down the field. Saw someone said here today he doesn't have the touch and all that kind of, whatever. We've seen it happen. Like I've seen enough data points to know he can sling the ball around the yard. I'm not going to judge your big outside downfield threat receivers when you don't have a consistent, when you haven't shown defenses that you can do that, or that you're able to do that right now. So to that point, I think they can utilize the tight end game well enough. I'd like to see a little bit more, and we can take it here before we kind of try to close the chapter on offense. A lot of people have issues with the sideline to sideline game and moving a lot of east to west. And Brune, you and I probably disagree on this. I'll push back because you've got 3 athletes that can make some jokers miss. So I don't hate it.
No, I don't hate it.
It's an extension of the run game.
Yes.
You've got to be able to do that. And look, it's going to get snuffed out, but odds are I'm taking my chances that Barry and Brown, Xavier Thomas, Aaron Anderson are going to make at least one dude miss and turn it into a 10+ yard play. That's just me.
The sideline I don't like is the check with me stuff where you can't run tempo if you're not getting first downs. Well, even when they were on that one long drive, I guess it was in the second half, maybe. But it was like pure check with me. And it was like, just run some tempo here. Like you've got Florida on the heels. Finally, they're really good defense. And you're just letting everybody sub in personnel wise that they want to. You're making, and even when they weren't making changes, they would just sit there and do check with me until like 5 seconds left on the clock. And then they'd be like, all right, here we go. I'd like to see more tempo. And I know you have to have first downs to actually do that and not go 3 and
what
out,
you did in the Clemson game with Jawan Johnson. You ran the same play over and over again.
Yeah, I didn't get why they just went to that for a few drives that were extended where it was like, this is not fun to watch and at all. This has no entertainment value, and you're kind of seemingly screwing yourself if you're just going to sit there and let the clock run all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
It puts a lot of pressure on you to be perfect when you they're trying to make everything perfect, and then it's like you have to actually go execute the play, and when it doesn't work, it's very painful to watch. I don't have too much else on this offense. I mean, like I said,
I want
to
pull this up, and I hope this person's a subscriber. He scares me with his profile picture. If Sloan commits more to taking the 20 yards, the big plays will pop. That's a fair statement. BK needs to make him call the run more. We were about to pull our hair out watching them run the ball into the teeth of that Clemson defense in the first half. And Brune and I audibly said to each other, at what point do they throw? And so I don't think it's necessarily a problem with them. They're committing to the run because we got fans banging their head against the wall saying, just throw the ball. I don't know if it's necessarily that, but I don't know. It's interesting. Offensively, this is where I sit with this, and we'll end it here, and then we'll talk about BK's post-game comments. I sit here with this. The level of frustration from fans is well warranted, and the level from the frustration in terms of, like, I think, Brune, you and I were sharing last night, because you talked this up so much, and this team can be so good. And it just doesn't feel like, to me, they're that far away. And maybe I'm wrong. I told you this. I was talking with Wilson Alexander about this, and he and I were just kind of going back and forth and saying, it just feels like if they could get maybe 2 or 3 things clicking, 2 or 3 plays just positively and get some momentum going, then the dam would break. That's kind of how I feel about it, because they have the athletes. It's not a question of that. Now, you have your questions offensive line, but like Shea said on last week's episode, you feel good enough you can overcome that. Like, Nuss didn't just luck into 4,000 yards last year behind an okay offensive line. To me,
when they couldn't run it then either.
Yeah. They couldn't. There was no run game last year.
They can't run it. It scares me because the offense will suck. They couldn't run it last year, and they threw 4,000 yards. They have the same quarterback, same OC, a lot of the same receivers, an upgraded receiver room thanks to the portal. Like, that's what's baffling, because you should be sitting here being like, imagine last year's offense with Barry and Brown and Nick Anderson in them, but with this year's defense, who's beating you? But like, they couldn't run it last year.
Yeah.
So and yes, they lost 2 very good tackles. I don't think that's it. Like, yeah, sure. Like, they haven't played great at right tackle, all this. It just, they look so out of sync when that wasn't the case a year ago.
Yeah.
Passing the football.
The last thing for me is I was listening to a national pod, and they asked whose offense was in a worse position, Texas or LSU, and everybody agreed it was Texas by a significant margin. And I agree. Yeah. And I'm like, LSU fans here. If you imagine you have Arch Manning over here throwing for 100 yards and a pick against UTEP, like, I mean, this is LSU, I think, is in a much better position than most people, I think, realize, again, because I think Garrett Nussmeier in this passing attack can do what we've seen them do last year and what they did in the second half against Clemson and in the second and third quarters last night. Like, now it's about doing it for a full game. Now it's about being consistent, not turning the ball over and figuring out. So I'm not panicked. I'm not fully panicked. Yeah. My panic meter is very low right now.
And
not
like
very
Shea
low.
Said,
it's
like Shea said, we could be sitting here in 3 weeks heading into the bye week, and LSU puts up 35 plus or 40 plus on a bad Ole Miss defense, blows out Southeastern. You look back and say, we could be in middle October and they're scoring 30 plus. And you're saying, man, Clemson's and Florida's offenses aren't great. They're not great football teams, but they've got some really good defensive play. And then maybe that is the case. Maybe we look back and we're a prisoner of the moment a little bit in that sense.
Well, it's all we've had to see so far.
Yeah,
I just think it's worth noting that those 2 defenses are quite good.
Yeah.
And as I said, we can wrap it up with this and go to the BK stuff, but I feel so much better about their chances with this personnel on offense getting better. And even if it's not a run game, just like throwing the football, than I would if it were the defense sucking with last year's talent on it.
Totally agree.
I would be like, well, they're not going to, I've already seen it before. They're not good.
Yeah.
I can't say that about the offense. I have seen this group before, and they were very good at throwing the football. So I'm okay. I'm better with that reality through 3 games at 3-0 than if it were the inverse of it and it were just like a year ago.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Let's talk BK.
Before
we do that, one, to let you know.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah.
Take us,
geez,
Bryce. Take
Listen.
us, Bryce.
Hey, I want to let you know about our friends over at Game Time. My guys used it this past weekend. They loved it. They got a good deal on prices. They used code TIGERS, all caps, for $20 off your first order. So I'll tell you a little cheat here. If you've already got a Game Time account, just make a new one with that other email and use code TIGERS and take advantage. Support the pod, support what we got going on Bingo Hot Tiger. Great prices. The prices went down late. They got some really good tickets. Enjoyed a good one there. And you can use it for concerts. You can use it for shows, anything you want, sporting events there as well. If you want to watch an 0-2 Saints team next week, you're allowed to do that too. You might even get the tickets for free if you use that code. So I will continue to throw shade as I'm about to watch the Falcons lose on Sunday night. So it'll be fun. We're all going to be bad. But yeah, make sure you use code Tigers.
I do need to give a shout out to, I say every time we post our predictions on the board, I always say, in order to encourage people to post their own predictions, I say, if you get it exactly right, I'll give you a shout out on our reaction podcast. MN Tiger, yes, 20-10
poster.
LSU. Shout out to MN. Heisman level poster over there. Shout out to you. I think I had 24-13, so I was kind of in that range, but shout out to MN.
Self promotion, that's fine though, I guess.
I had to throw that.
There we go.
Bayou Bandit said it is in the chat. He had 23-10. All of us are sitting around saying take the under. We can't sit here and be like we're floored that the game ended up 20.
No, you're right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I cashed out the under. Cashed out also my final lines is now 3-0. I had the Florida team total under 19.5. We're rolling. We're rolling.
I don't know if they'll list this week's game on BetMGM versus Southeastern, but we'll see.
Brian Kelly's going to be running up the score next week. Ain't that right, Bryce?
That is right. Look at that. Look at that. All right, let's talk real quick. He's in the media, and he's down here in Baton Rouge. He asked a question, led off the press conference. By this point, you've seen what kind of transpired. But Brian Kelly's frustration level, I don't want to talk so much about our media colleague. What I'd rather talk about, though, is the frustration level. What did you take away from it and how he handled it? And just in terms of, does it take a peek behind the curtain at maybe – he just wants this team to get deserve. He feels like they deserve respect, and it's time to maybe praise some of the things instead of harping on the negative things all the time. Shea.
Yeah. Okay. So we won't get into the nuances of all the.
Well, you can if you want. I'm just
right to snap back or whatever. Obviously,
you can.
He's talked about it before that he doesn't think pressure should happen after the game. That
he said it last week.
That he's like, I want to be able to watch film. I want to calm myself down. So then you put yourself in someone else's shoes when they react that way, right? And he even said it. I'm coming out of a locker room with a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds. I guess Zach Weeks is probably like 16 years old, 17, but you get it. That are all in there dancing, that are on Snapchat, that are on IG Live, and they're having a blast. They hate Florida. They won by double digits. They did it as a team. I come in here and I tell you, we got some things to work on right now. All right. But it's 1-0. We got a win. And boy, our defense really stepped up for us against a quarterback that beat us a year ago. And our special teams played great. Like we knew, and he didn't say it, but he did. We knew we have offensive deficiencies. So we called the game a certain way. We followed the script and it worked out for us and we won. And so when the first question you get hit with out of that is like, why do you suck on offense? Well, then what about third downs? What about this? And then you get his reaction of we won by 10. Like I just said it, there are deficiencies, but like, unless we win 70-0, is nobody happy? Can you not be happy that we won the game, but if we weren't perfect, or you think that there's some lingering issue through 3 games, it's going to then, be such a detriment that you'll never win a game again. Like you played 3 phases of football. They were excellent in 2 of them. They won the game against a UF team that everybody said all week was so hungry. They had to get this win. They had to do it for Napier. They have talent.
Mm-hmm.
You won.
Yeah.
You moved on. And then I think that there becomes it sort of works in both ways against a head coach in those moments, who I think often will use a post-game press conference or a press conference to one, speak to fans, but maybe more importantly, speak to the team. And so he had his team's back right there. Had he come out and said, you know what, I should have stepped in and called the whole game. Joe Sloan can't call plays. I should have benched Garrett. He's no good at football. I think our O-line sucks. I really should have subbed some guys in. Everybody would have been like, see, it's Brian Kelly. That's Notre Dame Brian Kelly right there. I mean, he's throwing everybody under the bus. Everybody else's fault but his. So he snaps back, maybe a little too aggressively there.
Yeah.
But his message is like, we won. We did it as a team. I know we have deficiencies. What do you want me to like? We won. That's what those kids care about. Give them some respect in there instead of immediately saying, well, why can't you do X, Y, and Z when you just got to 1-0 in the SEC?
Yeah.
I think it was the timing. I think that hurt. Like it said, Shea, like, I understand that.
And that's not on the reporter.
Mechanism. No,
like if it were the fourth question, I don't think it makes it any better. There's no rules about.
Well, if it was the fourth question, BK would not have. I don't think he would have snapped.
Yeah, I think he came straight from a party atmosphere, being proud of his boys, to like, why do you suck at football? And he's like, Jesus Christ, we won 10. Like, sorry for on a Sunday, Lord, for using your name in vain there, but I can understand his frustration. I'm putting myself in his head. We're partying in the locker room. I come out here. I tell you that we're not good on offense. I tell you that we've got some things to work on, but I'm so proud of my boys. And then you're like, man, why do y'all suck at football?
Okay.
Come on, man.
To that point, Xavier Thomas told us last Tuesday, he said, I don't think people understand how hard it is to win. Like he said that immediately. And you could tell every single reporter was kind of like, oh, and we're at the heart, we're all fans of this sport, and it's a fantastic sport, and we love it. It's the greatest sport on earth. But in general, we get so into the nitty-gritty, and there's so much information out there that I think the casual person, and I'm not trying to belittle people, I think I'm guilty of this, and you guys can say if you're guilty of this at times, but we feel like we know what happens, and we know what people go through, and we know what the conversations are behind closed doors. And like you said, Shea, at the end of the day, you just beat a team that kind of embarrassed you last year in their home place. And defensively, you dominated them. You took one of the quarterbacks who was one of the darlings coming into the season, and you made him look like one of the worst quarterbacks in the conference. DJ Lagway's not one of the worst quarterbacks in the conference. You made him look like that. So to come off of the excitement, the emotion, 3-0, 2 massive wins, top 5 team in the country. Like, you have everything out to end this month potentially. You were in pole position in this conference to do some big things and to have a playoff run. I get why Kelly was hot. And I'll say this too, for a guy that, sometimes catches a lot of flack for not standing up for his team, which I don't necessarily agree with that. He stood up for them. And those guys in the locker room are going to notice that. Truthfully, why should anybody care what a reporter has to say in that? He's standing up for his team. I think he sent a message to those guys back in there saying, yeah, we know we got some problems. We know that there's some issues, but we just won a football game against an SEC team. We beat 2 potential playoff teams that, in the preseason were dictated as that. Let's feel good about it. We're going to try to fix these things. We're aware they're not idiots. And I think I will say this, not trying to get personal about it.
Okay.
The first 2 questions this said reporter asked, okay, what really set Kelly off was the third way it was worded. Was that like truthfully,
follow up.
Yeah, the follow up. That's what set him off. And look, you can sit there and say to yourself that maybe Kelly was too harsh on it, but you know what? He's fighting with that group of guys to go try to achieve something. And I don't, you know what I mean? Like if I'm an LSU fan, I'm sitting there saying, all right, I like that. I don't know. That's just my take. I don't. That to me is where it is. You can speculate all you want, but at the end of the day, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors. You don't know how hard they worked to go win that football game and did what they needed to do, and it is what it is.
The dumbest thing that I think comes out of this that I think infuriates me, because I don't think anyone should ever. It's just so baffled thinking, is that people walk away from that press conference, fans, they might have been drunk last night. Maybe they think better of it today, but are like, see, BK doesn't get it. He doesn't realize they're bad at offense. Like, you don't think the head coach who's been in this game 40 years and is at practice every day and in every staff meeting and he's on the headset, and you don't think he recognizes where they're good and where they're not. And just because he's not going to come out in the post-game presser
It's not
and
realistic.
say exactly what you want him to say about where they're at as a team means that he doesn't recognize it and that he's not going to push for it to change. That gets handled behind closed doors. You do not want him out there telling you how bad guys suck at football, or that this guy shouldn't be starting, or this guy screwed it up for us. And if he played
That's how a
better, we would have
program
won.
crumbles.
Like, what? No. Like, be good with it. That was my biggest thing, is I think people left that right. See, he's defensive because he knows that it sucks, or that he doesn't see that it sucks and he's missing the point. It's like, no, I promise you he gets it and feels it more than anybody.
Brune.
Y'all covered it well. I don't have too much more. I think the timing of it was what shocked me. Like Shea said, like y'all both said, that's what triggered it. If it was the fourth or fifth question of even if it was the second question of the press conference, it's probably a much more muted response. And then Brian Kelly, as he's done since he's got to LSU,
He went back to it like 20 times though.
Oh yeah, and then Brian
He
Kelly
did.
I mean, about every answer included I'm just gonna one more time tell you that was a terrible.
Yeah, because then he starts yelling again at the end, or not at the end, but like question like 4. He's like, I don't care if y'all don't like it. So I'm like, but like he has become, and I don't know, I didn't cover him at LSU or at Notre Dame, but like it is the embellishment level of the past few years has like increased every single time, and as he should be confident, not 100%, but like he has become a lot more
Brash.
yeah, that's probably the word. Brash, and like willing to go back and forth and willing to like really just lay it on the table. And last year at the end of the year saying, we'll see you in the national title game. Like it has raised every year. And so the last thing I'll say is I 100%, I don't blame Kelly. I don't blame the reporter. It's just kind of how it happens. It's whatever, it happens. But I think in the big picture is fans are also split on, it's kind of like Brian Kelly. Should we take the win? Should we be negative? How positive or negative should you be? You should be overwhelmingly positive right now in terms of the fact your team is 3-0. And like Shea said, all the reasons that you said. Now, the expectation for this program, for this team, for this coach is to win a national championship. You will not get there unless the offense gets better. So I have no problem with people going ahead and trying to break down, analyze, question, be like, how do we get better? How do we get better? Because if you get better on offense, this is the best team in the country. Yes. And so that's what's exciting. And that's where you are back to LSU standard. You're not here talking about an 8-4 team or a 9-3 team. I mean, who knows what the record ends up being, but like the talent level's there, everything's there. So now LSU fans, be 100%, be positive, be overwhelmingly positive. But at the same time, the standard is to win a championship at LSU. And so let's go see Brian Kelly do it. That's what I'm excited for.
I like it.
Bryce, defense, special teams, those things win championships. I don't think that's changed, certainly in the SEC. I think you said it well to follow up kind of my thought of like, look, Ole Miss sucks on defense. If this is still a thing in 2 weeks, hit the panic button on the offense. Mm-hmm. And that we all agree, even everyone in the chat, that the defense is legit. It's not, as Bryce said, I think it's a great way to kind of close this out, not about Kelly's presser, but just in general, the mood of the fans, because I think you equate some poor showings versus what could be 2 very good defenses. And I don't care about Luedecke at all. With then they'll never get better. Well, they'll never get better, that they can't get better as the year goes on, that the O-line's bad and Nuss will never have time. What if they drop, 30 on Ole Miss and Vandy and South Carolina, and the defense is playing like they are, and Ramos is kicking like he is, and Chadwick's punting like he is? Well, then all of a sudden you do look back and you're like, well, they're gelling, and they kind of had to come out of the gates against 2 pretty tough defenses. Looks better now. And I'm not talking about even a run game. I'm just saying that they score points somehow. Could it be the vertical passing game? Could it be the run game? I don't know. I'd throw slants to Barry Brown and Nick Anderson and Xavion and Aaron Anderson the whole game. I don't care. But I do think there is a world where they're going to play a lot of defenses as that are not as good as these two, Clemson
Yes.
and Florida.
Yes.
That's when I'll judge whether or not this offense has real issues, because at the same time, Bryce, as you said, you're into like October, right? If you haven't got it figured out by then, like half the season's over with, you're probably not figuring it out. So I think the Ole Miss game in 2 weeks will be super telling.
It will be. Fun show. I got to talk more today. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
We had to make up for not doing the post game pod. So
yeah, that was. We did have some good music.
Bryce is beating himself up over this, guys, and that they.
I really am mad
that his audio crapped out after the fact, and he can't get over it. But I think we made up here. We're good.
We did.
Has everyone gotten their thoughts in, Bryce? Do we have anything else we need to hit on?
I'm going to put this up here. I don't know if we're allowed to, but I agree. Kelly's putting his on the table, and I respect it because his team will follow him. Yeah, exactly. That's really what I was saying. Because you're either going to love it if it works, you're going to hate it if you're not. And Kelly's pretty much put up or shut up. And isn't that what we said coming in the year? This is kind of a put up or shut up year for LSU
100%.
with Brian Kelly. So I don't have a problem with it. You know what? He's staying consistent, and whether you like it or not, he's consistent in that approach.
He already said he doesn't care if you like it or not.
Yeah,
everyone will like it when you're in Miami and he's holding up the trophy. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you won't care what he said, and Shea still won't care about the people in Ruston. So that's that.
That's not true. Quick, I said the team didn't care, so I'm not going to judge him for it.
Shea loves Ruston. Okay, dude.
I do. I'm a huge Artec fan. The last thing I want to say here is this too: is that I think I look across college football this year. I don't see a lot. Like I can make a case for like 7 teams that they might be the best team, and 10. I think LSU's in that mix. And when you look back a year ago, Bryce and Matty B, like Ohio State won the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Michigan to end the season, Nebraska. There were some games where they didn't look like they had any business playing for a title, let alone even being in the playoffs. They'd get waxed. Mm-hmm. They got there. And when they got there, they played their best football and they won it all. There's no way, unless you're 2019 LSU, that early 2000 Miami team, like there's going to be games that aren't going to look that great in a certain area, but winning them is even more important. Like Ohio State lost that Michigan game, did they not? I mean, there's games and everyone sat around like, what are y'all doing? Throw it to Jeremiah Smith, throw it to these guys, Ibuka. Well, they figured it out later on and they won a title. Like if you're sitting here saying, throw it deep, do all this, like they may end up doing that. And then all of a sudden that's, what they are moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I'm, as Matty B said, panic meter low, or I'm not even reaching for it yet. Give me a couple of weeks and I want to see them play some bad defensive football teams and see what this offense looks like.
I'm with you. Jordan Allen put up another comment. I don't think it's not safe for work. So I don't want to embarrass Brune like that. So we do appreciate it.
But Brune said it's true.
But Brune did say it's true.
Brune can't confirm.
Brune can confirm. There you go. We appreciate everyone watching each live every single Sunday night. And we appreciate you catching us after the fact on YouTube and all those podcast platforms. Make sure you subscribe there. Head over to the Bengal Tiger once again and come hang out with us. $1 for your first week, and you get that annual athletic subscription. Awesome deal. Take advantage of it. We mentioned Game Time there as well. We mentioned BetMGM along with that. And so make sure you come hang out with us. We appreciate all those making this possible. Shea Dixon, Matthew Brune. My name is Bryce Koon. We got another week of college football coming up. These two fellas with the Mailbag Pod tomorrow. And stay on the lookout. Potentially big recruiting news coming this week. So we'll have all the latest tidbits, notes, and nuggets on that as well. And we will catch you next time, though, here on the Bengal